The Secret of the New World, the Story of America, Before and After Columbus. Hey everyone, tonight we're talking about a story you've probably only heard half of. This isn't just about Christopher Columbus. It's about the secrets hidden for centuries regarding how an entire continent was discovered. This is the complete story of the discovery of America, a story that's not only exciting, but also deep, real, and a little bitter. So settle into your seats because tonight we're exploring ocean waves, unknown dangers, and one of the biggest misconceptions in human history. Chapter 1. Long Before Columbus, the Unnamed Travelers. When you think of the discovery of America, the name Christopher Columbus immediately comes to mind. But what if I told you he wasn't the first? For centuries, historians and archaeologists have tried to solve a mystery. Did any European reach America long before Columbus? At the end of the 10th century, around 1000 CE, the Vikings from northern Europe, known for their ships and bravery, crossed the Atlantic and landed on a new territory. A Viking navigator named Leif Erikson, along with his companions, reached what is now Canada, which they called Vinland. They even established settlements there, but these didn't last. Due to conflicts with the indigenous people, whom the Vikings called Skraelings, and the harsh climate, they returned home after only a few years. Their stories survived orally in the form of sagas, but the rest of Europe paid little attention to them. So, technically, the first Europeans to discover America were the Vikings, nearly 500 years before Columbus. But their discovery didn't change the world. To change the world, the discovery needed to happen at the right time and be backed by an ambitious kingdom. Chapter 2. Spain's Hunger and a Misguided Navigator. Now the man whose name is taught to every schoolchild enters the story, Christopher Columbus. In the 15th century, there was an intense desire in Europe to find a new trade route. The Ottoman Empire had blocked the traditional land routes to Asia, especially India and China. European nations desperately needed a new sea route for spices, silk, and gold. Columbus, an Italian navigator, came up with a bizarre idea. The Earth is round, which most educated people knew at the time, so why not sail west to reach Asia instead of going east? His calculations were wrong. He believed the Earth was much smaller than it actually is, and that Asia was much closer. He convinced the Spanish king, Ferdinand and Isabella, to fund his voyage. They gave him 3 ships, the Niña, Pinta, and Santa Maria. On August 3, 1492, Columbus set sail from Spain. After 36 days of dangerous sea travel, during which his crew threatened mutiny, they sighted land on October 12, 1492. Columbus believed he had reached the shores of Asia, perhaps India or nearby islands. He did not recognize the land as a new world. He assumed it was the land of the Indians, and he began calling the indigenous people Indians, which became a historical blunder. The first island he set foot on he named San Salvador, located in the present-day Bahamas. He met the Taino people there, whom he found peaceful, but his mind was fixed on one thing: gold. Chapter 3. The Thirst for Gold and the Dawn of a New Era. Columbus undertook 3 more voyages after his first. He never reached the mainland of North America, confining his exploration to the Caribbean islands and parts of South America. He believed until his death that he had found a route to Asia. The result of his voyages was tragic. Wherever he went, he established Spanish rule. The Taino and other indigenous populations were enslaved, tortured, and forced to mine for gold. European diseases, to which the indigenous people had no immunity, wiped out a huge portion of their population. But Columbus's voyages triggered an exploration that could no longer be stopped. Soon, other European explorers followed his path. Amerigo Vespucci, another Italian navigator, explored the coasts of South America in the early 1500s. He was the first person to realize that this was not Asia, but a whole new continent. In his honor, this new land was named America. John Cabot, explored the coasts of North America in 1497, establishing claims for England. Ferdinand Magellan began the first circumnavigation of the globe by crossing the Pacific Ocean, although he himself did not complete the journey. Gradually, Europe realized they had discovered not just a new trade route, but two massive continents. This new world was filled with gold, land, and resources, and it represented a new opportunity for Europe. Chapter 4: The True Face of America: Colonization and Tragedy. So, what did the discovery of America truly mean? For the Europeans, it was the gateway to wealth, power, and new trade routes. It opened a new chapter for Europe, known as colonization. Spanish, Portuguese, English, French, and Dutch powers seized control of different parts of the Americas. But for the indigenous people, it was less a discovery, more than a catastrophe. The arrival of the Europeans destroyed their centuries-old civilizations, cultures, and ways of life. Millions of indigenous people died from wars, slavery, and diseases. Their lands were stolen, their cultures were suppressed. It is a sad story where the joy of discovering a continent became destruction for another. Today, when we talk about the discovery of America, we look at it from a more complex perspective. It is not just the story of a brave voyage, but the story of a global transformation that changed the world forever, a change that brought prosperity to some and irreparable loss to others. America today is a diverse nation, home to various cultures and people. It emerged centuries after Columbus's voyages, but its foundation rests on the sacrifices of those early discoverers and the millions of people who lived there before. So, who discovered America? The answer isn't as straightforward as it seems. It's a complex web, stretching from the anonymous efforts of the Vikings to the miscalculations of Columbus, and finally to the voices of the millions of indigenous people whose land was discovered. Was there any aspect of the story that surprised you the most?